cross, cross, cross.
A グループ1本目の、走行リスト出てますので、よろしければ11番ピットまでお越しください。
Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of JDM Masters, and on today's video we are at Tsukuba Circuit for a track day with Indra and Mustafa. We're going to be talking about how to set up your car, what are the safety precautions you should do. We'll be taking a look at a lap around. You can see all the cars going by. We have a lot of people here, amateurs coming for track day. So if you want to know more about it, come join us. So now we're going to be talking about how to prepare your car for a track day and some of the things that you should be looking out for. And we're going to be talking to our friend Indra, and this is R35 GT-R. And you've probably seen him in our last video with the one gun midnight comparison. So let's welcome him. Hey Indra.
Nice to see you again. Thanks for coming out.
Yeah, no problem, man.
Yeah.
So it's your first day in scuba.
Yep.
And this is exciting for you, probably.
Very exciting.
Very exciting.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about how to prepare your car for a track day. What are the things that we should be looking out for, especially in concerns with safety?
Well, you know, the basics, it's what keeps the car on the ground. Tires, suspension, brakes. Those are the basics. Like you need, well, not the basics, they're most important because you're going to be going high speeds, you're going to be putting a lot of pressure on your precious cars. You need these guys to really do their jobs for you to go home safe.
Absolutely.
Yes. Minor things you can do. Oil changes, engine oil, fluid changes, transmission oil, diff oil, all the oils, because you're going to be running high temp, you're going to be running fast, you're going to be running really hard. So your cars are going to be suffering quite a bit. So you need to make sure that it's all well prepared in that sense. Yes.
Now, obviously, your car is a 35 GT-R. It's a high-powered turbocharged car, which creates a lot of heat, especially with the oil temperature, the water temperature, and these are the things that need to be addressed at a very high level, using good fluids, good coolant. But even with small NA cars like a Roadster, we should still do these maintenance. Now, should we do it before we go for the track day or after?
Well, in my opinion, it all depends on how you look at it, because you need to understand your car. Because transmission oil, for example, it needs to be mixed. It needs to be in brake terms, we say pre-bedded, but it's like you need to get it running first.
Right.
Yes.
So it just flows nicely around the gears, removes all that sediment and stuff.
Common mistakes people do is that
Yeah.
they change the transmission oil before a track day, right before a track day, and they think that, oh, this is going to be good. It's not going to be good.
I see.
You need to run a few hours. You need to make it, really make it like warm up and already in the gears, so it'll work fine. If it's just like that,
I see. So basically, if the oil is too new, it hasn't had the time to sort of get between the really tight-fitting gears, and therefore when the temperature suddenly goes up, the reverse might actually happen, like grinding the gears.
See, when oil heats up, it kind of like it separates and a bit disperse.
Right.
So you need to have that at least a minimum a little bit before you don't go all out, with new oil, especially transmission oil. Engine oil is fine. It's made for that because you have some anyways. Because with transmission oil, you really need to make sure it's all in the gears first.
Right. What about the brake fluid, oil clutch fluid too? That's also really important.
Brake fluid, yes, I heavily suggest it because, for the GT-R, for example, on the back straight, I'll be going at 200, 210, easy.
Even on Tsukuba Circuit?
Yes, 200, okay, I'll say minimum 200. If I really nail the last turn, 200 easy. So you're going to be stopping a 1 ton, 800 kilogram big car from 200 kilometers to at least 100, so you make the turn. So you're relying a lot on your brakes.
Even on lighter cars, you could probably go more laps than your heavy GT-R, but eventually all that heat that comes from the road transfers to the tire transfers to the brake discs, and that goes into the fluids.
Yes.
So if you just have factory standard .3, it's not going to last long.
It's not going to last long, like I have experienced today. I did not change my brake fluids because this is my first time. So I told myself before I came here, I'm not going to be pushing it. But me being me, pushing it.
You were pushing it by the third lap already.
Yeah, I was comfortable already.
Because you thought you were playing Gran Turismo in real life.
Oh man, we need to talk about that. Yes.
In the next episode, we'll be talking about the comparison between real life and Gran Turismo as well.
So the GT-R is a very heavy car.
So compared to the other cars on the track that you might be facing, lighter S2000s, a much more sleek S15 Silvia, for example, these guys will go toe to toe with you in the braking. But one thing they don't have in their car is this massive VR38 twin turbo engine. So use that to your advantage. Go easy on the brakes, focus more on the exit, and when you're just at the straight line, just give it the full gas, and the car will do everything else. So my advice for heavy cars is that easy on the braking, slow in, get that car straight, and then fast out.
But back to the car. So indeed, you're right, brake fluids are very important,
yes,
but also the type of brake pads.
Yes.
You're using semi-metallic?
Yeah. Currently I'm using CCRG from Endless. They're really good. They work really good in high temperature. But the downside is that when they're cold, it takes a bit of time for them to actually get bedded within the brake rotors.
So that's a good question. As you go out on your in-lap,
yes,
that first lap, what should you be doing? You should be taking it easy, maybe warm up the tires, get the brakes warm up before actually trying to push. Because a lot of people make this mistake where they start pushing from the very beginning,
yes,
and unfortunately some things will happen. You crash because you overestimate the braking.
Yes. You know, I don't blame them. I don't judge them because we all have the excitement. You know, so it's a racetrack.
That's true, but it's something that we need to keep in mind.
Yes, of course.
Before you go out,
because
for safety.
The tires are cold, your brakes are cold, you're cold. You know, people underestimate the speeds. You know, you need to get your eyes set into the thing first. You know, into the road, into the tire. If you go fast straight, your eyes are not going to keep up. It's all about building the pace.
That's a very good question.
Yes.
Also, the mental faculty is very important for you to get that adrenaline. It's like, you know, if you play some sports, for example, tennis, you're not going to go all out on the first round. You need to warm it up. It's the same, you know. You drive a car, but you need to try to get yourself used to that you're going to drive hard, much harder than usual in the streets.
Yes, that is true. So what we should do is that tires and brakes, need to work them, you know, because you're asking a lot from these guys.
Right.
For your brakes and from your tires. You need to make sure they're at least the minimum optimum position, the heat, so that it can save you in case you overcook it. You need these guys to help you.
Now, physically, you will be able to feel through the steering wheel when your tires warm up, the steering starts to become heavier, and you feel that's when you're at that nice sweet spot of the grip. So it needs some temperature, but maybe after one lap, especially on a short circuit like this where there's a lot of braking heats up the tires really fast. And with when you put acceleration, a lot of power goes to the tires and this heats it up. But what's more important is you have to be able to get into the corners and use one or two characteristics of the tires. The tires are only made to do a certain amount of grip with only two functions. So you can be using full acceleration and using maximum tire grip, or you can be braking in a straight line and then you're using 100%. But we often do what is called trail braking into the corner, which means you'll be asking maybe 30% turning and 70% braking as you're going in. How does this affect a heavy car like the GT-R a lot, especially in these tight hairpins?
I'm used to driving lighter cars back when I was younger, but heavy cars, trail braking, it does work, but it does not help you a lot in the long term, to be honest. Some corners, especially the first corner and the last corner, I trail brake a lot because I'm trying to slow it down, and the GT-R is prone to understeer. So as a driver, you keep the understeer in mind as you're taking the corner. You're not looking into the corner, you're thinking middle, you're thinking end. Yes, so you got to turn in quick, but you got to brake at the same time.
I see.
So to get the maximum time, you need to trail brake. You know.
Right.
But it all comes naturally.
Certainly, this is an important thing to understand before you actually go out, because you have to think, am I going to drive in such a way that will destroy my tires at the end of it? And there are some incidents where, most of amateurs actually come from their homes with one set of tires. If you're lucky, you can carry two sets of tires and change them. But if you're a total beginner, you'll probably be carrying the same set of tires. So you want to go home with the same set of tires and not wear them out completely.
Well, the point of a track day is to drive your car there, have a bit of fun, and drive home. That's a track day.
That's a track day. That's a track day.
For an amateur, like people like us, we just have fun. You know, it's a few hours on the track, push it a bit, start up, aircon on, we go home. Easy.
Right. So that's a very important thing to keep in mind, that you want to get home in one piece, not on a on a tow truck, right? You know.
In my mentality, before I came to this track day, I wasn't thinking about the track day. I was thinking about going home from the track day.
Right, which is a very important point. The same thing when you run on the tow gate as well.
Yes.
You know,
you want to go back and sleep. You want to go back to your house. You want to go back to your family. All that stuff. So you got to keep that in mind, especially when you're going at these speeds.
That's very interesting. So if you are used to track days, if you're used to driving on a circuit, but if you don't have that spare facility of bringing extra set of tires, an extra set of tools, how hard should you be pushing on the circuit? Like, on the streets we say 70%. But maybe on a track day, if you go 100%, you're going to break something, wear out tires. How hard should we be pushing, in your opinion?
In my opinion, we run the tow gate, obviously. So we take it to the track. I say 10%. Margin. So
Maximum.
You run 80. Because if you run 100, you're bound to break something, or you're going to have an accident. I'm not saying you will have an accident, but the chances are that you will have an accident.
Right. Because there's no space for recovery. If you're committed to that line, going to that corner, the problem is with track days, we have to remember that it's not a race.
Yes.
It's still not a race. You are on a track where you can push your car to a much higher limit safely compared to the tow gate, but there's still going to be people around you who are also trying to do the same thing.
Yes. Well, the important thing to keep in mind is that these things, track days are fun, but they also cost a lot of money.
Yes.
And you have to understand that even though if you're a good driver, you have to be wary of your surroundings, because you could be here the 10th time, but the guy next to you could be here the first time.
Yes.
So you need to take account of people's mistakes as well. Because I have experienced that today. I was coming to a corner, this guy wouldn't let me pass. He spun in front of me.
Right.
And, I nearly avoided him, which is good.
Right.
But imagine if you're both first timers.
Oh, yeah.
It's not
that's going to be...
Well, today's event, it's an APR track day. It's organized by People APR Service Center. We have 3 classes.
I see.
We have the advanced class, we have the amateur class, beginners class.
So these are divided into experience and skill level.
Yes.
Do you decide that by yourselves?
To be very honest, I wanted to join the beginners class because, like I said, it's my first time here. But I raced with these guys before.
Okay.
And they're like, there's no way you're going to be. You got to go in the advanced class.
He was a professional racer before, so no beginner class for you, mate.
I want to take it easy, have a bit of fun, and go back and have a chit chat. But these guys are like, we don't need you here.
But still, even in the advanced class, as you said earlier, there was still a guy who was not at that level, and it's important to also understand the basic rules of running on a circuit. Like, also in a real race, there are things like, you must understand the flags, which we'll talk about in a minute, and what you should do when you want to overtake somebody who's a slower car. So what should you do if you want to take a cool down lap and then you want to overtake? Are there certain things you should do, some signals?
Yes, for a cool down lap, ideally you want to be on the racing line. Why? Because if you stay on the outside, you're going to pick up rubber, and that's not good for your tires.
That's a very good point.
Yes, ideally your tires are hot, you're cooling down. You want to be on the racing line where there's less dirt, debris. But there's people coming behind you, like coming 100%. So you need to be worried more behind you instead of the front. That's my experience. Because when I'm cooling down, all I'm doing is just looking at the back.
Right.
One is because I don't want people to get in my way, so I will not get in their way. It's manners. It's basic.
That's right. And those kind of manners also apply very much to a track day. It's only for safety, but people pay money to come here and run. You don't want to rob them of that track time. It's an etiquette, which is something that is quite common in the community, especially in Japan.
Yes.
Yeah.
That mentality applies to Toge as well.
So now we're going to be talking a little bit about how the process of the track day goes. Sign up, you turn up very early. What happens in the beginning, in the morning?
In the morning, we have to register. So we pass our course license. But normally track days, we don't need a course license. We just come and we race, basically. So what you do when you sign up is that a sign saying that we are participating in track day, blah, 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 damages will not be, all that stuff, insurance. You get a number, this one. So it's labeled for every car. On some track days, you can pick your favorite number. On some days, they just give you a number. Whichever is fine. I don't really pay too much attention to this. I just want to drive. But other than that, we have some free time. We got driver's briefing. Basically, what we're going to do for the day, what's the time schedule be like, how is the conditions, weather, track temperature, all these
Right.
details.
This is a sort of a little brief on how the
Yes.
track is. Now, these numbers, will they be also used for the timing, or it depends on the track day?
We use mostly on the timing.
Right.
Yes.
And it does appear on the scoreboard
Yes, it does.
up there.
Yeah.
And so will they put a little timer?
Yes. When you
lap.
when you go for the driver's briefing, you'll be given a transponder.
Right.
So there are two timing lights here. So there's there's a few timing lights here. Main straight, sector 1, sector 2, and sector 3.
So circuits are divided usually into sectors.
Yeah.
And each sector has a little time, just like how when you play the game as well. And that's a very useful thing. You can get your timing according to the number.
Yeah.
This is great. You're really playing real life Gran Turismo.
Yes.
So in 2 days, I'll be heading to Tsukuba Circuit. Really looking forward to it. It's for a track event. But today, we're going to be looking at Gran Turismo Sport. This is a game that I've been playing for a long time now. Up to this point, I've been treating it as a game. But the cap has convinced me to try to play it as how you would treat your car. So for example, if it's in the game, you will redline it to the max, you would brake the latest as you can, you would try to take the corners as fast as you can without thinking, keeping in mind that your tires and all the things that might break down. So today we're going to be taking this game, keeping in mind that you want to go home after a track day. So for example, not driving it to the red line, keeping in mind that your tires are very expensive. You have to preserve the engine, your gearbox, especially for the GT-R, because the gearboxes are very flimsy in these cars. So yeah, really excited. I have never done this before, so I'm pretty excited for it. Also, this will be my first time in Tsukuba Circuit. Up to this point, I've only played it in games. I'll be actually visiting the circuit in real life in my GT-R, which is one of the dream come true. You've seen it in Best Motoring, you've seen it in YouTube, you've seen how all veteran drivers drive the track, cutting the 1 minute, that's like it's something that I would like to try. And yeah, I'll be getting the opportunity in 2 days, so I'm really excited for it.
In real life, you probably might not want to get your tires onto the rumble strips.
Okay.
Because you're not running race tires.
Yep.
And with your Michelin PS4S and that kind of heat, you'll probably destroy the tires pretty quickly.
Okay, noted.
Yeah. So try to run in such a way that you keep to the circuit. It's just a track day, it's not a race, And of course, when we play the game, it's very easy to just think, okay, I'm just going to go for that maximum line. So it's a kind of a mental training where you use this simulation to get those muscle reflexes.
Okay.
How you would run it. So don't drive it up all the way to 7,000. 6,000 is enough.
6,000?
6,000 is enough. The car's got a lot of power, so you'll be more than satisfied with the acceleration, for sure.
Alright, I'm going to give it a shot.
Now this is the Turismo GT-R, which is quite a different spec from your real car, but it's got about the same horsepower, 600 horsepower. So this is the closest simulation that we can do.
Wait, I'm sorry. Avoid
hitting the rumble strips.
Okay.
Yeah. So just stay.
Does that count on the outside as well?
Yes. Like, don't do that.
All right.
Yes. And those sector times are very important, at least for us people who take this very seriously. Because when we look at the sector times, we know where we can improve. So maybe I can push a bit more on sector 1, but that will I have to compensate in sector 3 or things like that.
Right.
It's a mind game.
But if you're a beginner, you just want to not crash out, basically.
Yes.
So let's talk about safety equipment. What are the basic things that you need in any track day?
The most important thing you need to have is a torque wrench for your wheel nuts.
Right.
Because as we mentioned before, you're asking a lot from your car, and you want to keep torquing up those nuts. Just not to say that they're becoming loose, but chances are that they might become loose.
It's always better to confirm and check it.
Yeah. Because you don't want to lose a wheel at 200 kilometers
Which
per hour.
Which can happen actually in some track days.
I have seen happen before, and that can be prevented by just spending 2 minutes torquing up everything. And other maybe a socket kit, for maybe some pipes became loose.
Right, which does happen too.
Yes.
Yeah. And sometimes also you got to check with your bumpers, you know,
clips.
attach the clips, attach obviously just go one round around the car just to give it a once over and check it. And also on some track days they require you to put masking tape on your headlights.
Yes.
What's the reason?
Let's say you have an accident with another car, maybe a minor touch, and your glasses, your headlights just break. You're gonna leave debris all over the track.
So it's to keep it intact.
Just keep it intact, keep it there. So, not to say that it's gonna keep everything in there, but you know, it will
hold everything together so that, you know, it doesn't
won't
get
be
on the track and which debris is the last thing you want. It can cause other accidents as well.
Yes.
So mindful.
Of course.
So personal safety equipment, obviously,
Yes.
a helmet. Now, should you get a full face helmet like this?
Well, I grew up in the motorsport world. All I had is this. I have never worn a half face helmet. It just doesn't feel good for me. I feel naked without a full face.
But it's all right to even just go for a full
for
face
amateur
helmet. Yeah.
events like this, it's totally fine. You can have a cheap helmet. As long as you have a helmet, it's okay. But this is mine.
And what other equipment, like maybe gloves then?
You need gloves.
Yes.
Well, not say you need gloves, but it's always nice to have that extra 20% of grip when you're holding the steering wheel, because you're going all out, you're making fast turns, you're making rapid turns. You don't want to like have an accident when you slip off the steering wheel.
Right.
Yes, grippy gloves help a lot.
What kind of attire should you be dressed up? Not everyone has a racing suit.
Yes, for today, I had a racing suit, but it did not fit me anymore.
Oh, too many beef pies, mate.
Too many beef pies. Long sleeves. So, for example, jeans, maybe a hoodie or a nice long T-shirt, button-down shirt. Just have some sleeves.
It's important not to have anything that might latch onto your car, your seat, anything. Nothing with dangling.
Proper shoes and I'm sorry. When we say gloves, you need gloves, obviously.
You do need gloves. Some trackers, it's a requirement.
Yes.
You don't really need a full racing suit, but at least you shouldn't be wearing shorts.
No.
Like you said,
I would love
trousers.
to wear shorts though.
Especially in the summertime.
Oh yeah. Even now, it's really hot in the car.
Yes.
Because all the hot air comes through the vents.
Yes.
And I'm like literally sweating down there and struggling to like.
But you got a big turbo car that generates a lot of heat.
That's even worse. But,
Imagine if you're in a rotary car. That's a lot of heat. But anyway.
Things you should take out when you're driving on a track is any loose items. For example, well, I have a lot of stuff in it. I have a marker pen. I am asthmatic, so I have an inhaler for some reason. But yes, all the loose items, your phone cables, your wallet, your phone should be in the pit, in the bag. So what I have experienced before is that I had this sunglass case and I'm going max attack and it got stuck between my brake pedals. That was not a wonderful experience, so please take it out. Well, just this was not here when I was driving. Disclaimer. Yeah, basically, don't have this. Your bag needs to be there. Any loose items, anything at all, needs to be out of the car. The last thing.
Even that Corvettes, right?
Yes, coins. When you're going really fast, you're focusing on the road, steering, everything. You want to hear sounds. You might, something might break in your car, so you want to hear. Coins are a big nuisance because all you hear is coins. So you can't hear your brake rattle, something going wrong with your engine, you can't hear knocking, so coins need to be out of the car, for sure. I'm going to check my tires right now. When you're going fast, it generates a lot of heat, so it expands. So to get the maximum grip out of these tires, you need to lower your tire pressure just by a bit, so that you can take the margin of when you're going max attack and the tires start to expand. They'll expand at a margin where the tires are still usable. So for the GT-R, when I started, it was 2.2. It was 2.2 bars. So before I run, it was 2.2. So I just gotta adjust it a bit. So you go maybe 1.7, 1.8, depending on the conditions. Everything depends on your tires, and the less pressure you have, the more base area of the tire you will have to play with. So that's good. You'll get more grip, basically.
So we're also going to be talking about a very important piece of equipment that isn't normal standard cars, and it's this thing right here. It's called a tow hook. Why is this important when you're going on a track day?
Because let's say you have an accident or something breaks down and you're in the middle of the track. Okay, the worst solution is they're going to call a forklift and they're going to go scoop it from under your car.
Oh, that's not what you want.
Lift it up and put it on the truck.
Oof.
Okay, so to prevent that, we have a tow hook. The Nissan GT-R has a factory tow hook hole, which is in the frame. So you just gotta buy this from a third party company or whoever makes this.
And so make sure that you get a real high quality, proper tow hook. Otherwise, it's gonna break. I have seen a situation where somebody crashed and he didn't have a tow hook, and they tried to pull the car out of the sandbank by attaching a rope to the strut bar, and it ruined the strut bar.
I have seen people with no tow hook. They have to lift their car with a forklifter. And when the car is up on the lift, you can see all the scratches underneath your car.
That's
and
not what
you don't want that. So spend another extra $200, you know, buy a really good sturdy one, so that they can put a rope here and they can pull you out of the sand grab, and you can put your car on the truck when they just pull it by the toe. You know,
very good advice.
It's way easier. You know, if you're not going to spend money on this, please, this is important, guys. Important stuff. Okay, I have seen people put, you know, low quality cheap ones here. When they pull it, the whole bumper comes off.
Oh my goodness.
That's not good.
That's
so
not good.
Please don't cheap out on this.
So we're going to be taking a look at the tires after your second session.
Yeah.
How does it look like? Ooh.
Yeah, it looks...
It's showing a little bit of thread now.
Yeah, on the outside. So it's probably lacking a lot of camber.
So this is probably due to a suspension alignment setting that's causing the outside of the tires to be used a lot more than the inside. Oh.
So that means that the tire is, because normally if you put camber, you put negative camber, when the car turns, it straightens itself out.
It should be exactly perpendicular to the road, ideally, of course.
Yeah, ideally. But I don't track a lot or at all, so I don't need much camber. If I put too much camber, only the inside will wear out.
That's right.
But track day, you need camber because you're going fast on turns, you're going fast on tight corners, and you turn more.
Yeah.
Because you want to get that entry.
And also the tires heat up way more. So you're using that higher temperature range. You're using Pilot Sports Forest, which is quite a high spec for radial tires already.
Yes.
Do you think this could be solved by adjusting the tire pressure?
Yes, I think if you play around with the tire pressure, you should get like, you know, a decent amount of feeling from just by playing tire pressure, because, you know, all you're doing with the tire pressure is playing with the amount of tire area.
That's right.
Yeah, so more air means less tire area, but you go faster on the straights because there's less friction.
And it's also caused by the tires heating up from just repeated runs, and it heats up and it expands. Therefore, when it expands, the outer area of the tire actually starts blowing up a bit. But in this case, maybe it's a bit too high. Should we try lowering it a little bit and see if we can minimize the wear on this part? Yeah.
Surprisingly, the rear is pretty okay. Because this car is really heavy in the front.
Yeah.
So, you know, when you don't turn, as a driver, you try to turn it more and more and more. So the tire just, if it's like, you know, normal camber, it becomes more like this.
Right.
So you're relying more on the outside of the tire.
How are you actually turning in as you're going through like the hairpins? Because Tsukuba has got really tough hairpins. It's going down. So, I mean, it takes a heavy wear, especially going into there's two left-hand corners. How about the other side? Well, for this side actually seems quite okay. So that means this could be some alignment differences between the left wheel and the right wheel, or tire pressure differences, because there's a lot more pressure going into Tsukuba's left-hand corners.
I think, in my opinion, that corner, after this one, the second and third corner, it's a really hard downhill braking. And it's a really tight left-hand turn. And basically you're braking and you're trying to turn at the same time. But for me, because I use both legs, I try to maximize whatever track I have. I think that's why I push a bit too much on the right-hand side. On the left-hand side, it's more like a smooth turn. Right. This one's like, you gotta turn quick.
The first hairpin of Tsukuba Circuit is really hard on cars as you're coming out of that double chicane, and it's kind of going down a bit, and you really have to do more trail braking than usual. So for a heavy car,
get the car stopped, and you have to make the corner at the same time. The ideal situation would be brake earlier. But I was trying really hard to get
Okay. So in a situation like this where you don't have spare tires, you brought the tires that you've been running, you know, the whole time in your car. You want to preserve it. So you can go back. Let's not have a blowout. So what do you think is the best solution to do now?
Well, I have another session. In my opinion, I want to just dump it and not run. That would be the ideal situation. Or just go a bit slower, because I already attacked this enough. I know the limits of the car, and this is my first time, but I feel like I'm confident that I have already mastered some places.
So to speak, you've understood how the car should run on that circuit with these conditions. It's your first time also, isn't it? Okay. So I hope today's video has helped you understand a little bit about how to do track days, and the things that you should be looking out for, and also to be able to enjoy it and still also go back safely. And let us know in the comments also what other circuits you would like us to do, and also watch out for the next video where we do a comparison between real life and Initial D games. Initial D games, no! So watch out for the next video where we do a comparison between real life and simulator games like Gran Turismo Sport. So until next time, peace out.